Hey everybody, I have the next step in the Joseph story for you here today. This would be part 4. If you remember, the last time we were together and talked about Joseph, he was in prison and had interpreted the dreams of 2 of the people in Pharaoh's household that had been arrested. One of them was a cupbearer and one of them was a baker. And Joseph had correctly interpreted their dreams to say that the cupbearer would be returned to Pharaoh and the baker would be hanged. Joseph spent some time in that conversation with the cupbearer saying, "Don't forget about me. Please tell Pharaoh my story, that I was wrongly imprisoned, that I was here because my brothers put me here. I've done nothing wrong." Unfortunately, the cupbearer, in the excitement of becoming who he was, getting restored to that power, to that place of servitude to the Pharaoh and all the good things that come along to it, he did. He forgot about Joseph, and that's where we pick up today. Okay, we are on to Genesis 41, and what's happening in Egypt now is it's been 2 years since the time that the cupbearer was restored, and Joseph has been in charge of the prison this entire time. He is the head prisoner. Because everyone who has met him so far has realized that he's smart, God is on his side, and he's got a good plan. So everybody kind of gives him responsibility. 2 years have passed, and Pharaoh begins to have dreams. And he has these dreams that no one else can interpret. He's talked to all the wise men of his city, all the priests of their religion, to tell them what's going on, and no one knows what Pharaoh exactly is experiencing. So the cupbearer hears about this and then remembers, hey, 2 years ago, there was this guy, and this guy interpreted my dream, and he was right. Maybe he can interpret yours. So Pharaoh calls for Joseph, and that's where we're going to pick up here today. This is in verse 16, and we will read through, looks like 32, the 16 verses here. And this is about Pharaoh's interpretation, or Pharaoh's dreams and Joseph's interpretation of them. Joseph answered Pharaoh, who had just asked him if he could interpret his dreams. Joseph answered Pharaoh, "It is not I. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "In my dream I was standing on the banks of the Nile, and 7 cows, fat and sleek, came up out of the Nile and fed in the reed grass. Then 7 other cows came up after them, poor, very ugly and thin. Never had I seen such ugly ones in all the lands of Egypt. The thin and ugly cows ate up the first 7 fat cows. But when they had eaten them, no one would have known that they had done so, for they were still as ugly as before. Then I awoke. I fell asleep a second time, and I saw in my dream 7 ears of grain, full and good, growing on one stalk. And 7 ears withered, thin and blighted by the east wind, sprouted after them. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 good ears. But when I told it to the magicians, there was no one who could explain it to me." Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "Pharaoh's dreams are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dreams are one. The 7 lean and ugly cows came up after the 7 years, and they, as are the 7 empty ears blighted by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine. It is as I told Pharaoh. God has shown to Pharaoh what he is about to do. There will come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. After them, there will arise 7 years of famine, and all the plenty will be forgotten in the land of Egypt. The famine will consume the land. The plenty will no longer be known in the land because of the famine that will follow, for it will be very grievous. And the doubling of Pharaoh's dreams means that the things are fixed by God and will shortly bring about it." God reveals his plan both to Pharaoh and to Joseph vicariously through Pharaoh's dreams. And Joseph goes on here, and I want to pick up this next part as well, because I think this is indicative of who Joseph was in the world. Starting again on verse 33. "Now therefore, Let Pharaoh select a man who is discerning and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh proceed to appoint 7 overseers over the land, and take 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt during the 7 plenteous years. Let them gather all the food of these good years that are coming, and lay the grain under the authority of Pharaoh for the food in the cities, and let them keep it. For food shall be a reserve for the land against the 7 years of famine that are to befall the land of Egypt, so that the land may not perish through the famine. Joseph doesn't just tell Pharaoh what's about to happen. God grants him the ability to see how to fix it and how to solve it. And he gives that information freely to Pharaoh. Someone who's not a Hebrew, someone who's not like him, someone of great power. He's not even talking about himself here. He says, just put somebody in charge, someone who knows what they're doing, or we're all going to die. The famine is going to be so bad, it's going to wipe out everything that we know. All the years of plenty that we have, if we aren't careful, it'll take us all. Pharaoh hears these plans, and he says, you know what, no one has come up with anything like this. What you just laid out is the right plan. It's the way to do it. He puts Joseph in charge of this. As a matter of fact, he goes as far to say that Joseph is now second only to Pharaoh in all the land of Egypt in his court. He will give out the food. He will reserve the food. He will chronicle the food. He will make sure that everyone gives, and when the time of famine comes, he will make sure that everyone's fed. This goes on to show that even outside of the borders of the kingdom, the famine hits. It's not just the Egyptians getting punished. It's this whole area comes under famine, and people from all around the world, all around the known world at that time, hear that Joseph planned ahead of time, this man in Egypt, and they all come to get grain from him, and he's able to feed thousands and thousands, millions most likely, because of the knowledge that God gave him. That's where we're going to end the story today, and we'll pick up again with the redemption side of the story, what comes after this. But for these 7 years of plenty, Joseph does as God gave him the knowledge to do, and Pharaoh is wise enough to see that Joseph has that knowledge and uses it. The lesson in this is listen to God. Listen to the wise people in your life that speak into you. You know, we're at a time where knowledge is just thrown out everywhere. If you turn on Facebook for 5 seconds, you'll find at least 10 experts trying to tell you what the right or wrong thing is about anything. Not just what's going on today, but in all situations. Everyone thinks they know. Pharaoh was smart enough to say, this guy has a knowledge that I don't have, and I trust what he's saying, because it came from God. Whether the Pharaoh believed in God or not was irrelevant. The point is that Joseph was wise. Pharaoh listened. Listen to the wise people in your life. Shut out the ones who don't know. Those ones who couldn't interpret Pharaoh's dreams, he ignores them. They're not the ones who were put in charge. Ignore the bad voices, the people who don't know what's going on, the people who are just spouting off to say things. Everyone can be a Monday morning quarterback. It's easy when you have the game film and can know what came in the fourth quarter. You know how to call the plays in the first. What's difficult is having the discernment and the knowledge and the ability to act upon those things. Listen to those people in your life. If that's not you, if you're not the kind of person who comes up with these great ideas, that's fine. Be a wise enough person to know who to listen to. Our lives are full of voices. Try to sort out the right ones and find maybe your Joseph right now. Maybe he can help you understand and make your way through the world. Thank you guys for watching. We will catch you on Sunday for our sermon, and next week we will finish up the story of Joseph. Big stuff happening. Can't wait till we are able to get back together. We're still shooting it June 14th. And with the announcement yesterday from the governor, this looks like it's going to be a hard and fast date. We are ahead of schedule, so I look forward, start spreading the word. June 14th, back at Bethel UMC if you can make it. If you can't, we will still have videos for you to watch and follow us. You are still a part of our community, whether you are there with us that day or not. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.